And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. A new expose in Wired magazine has revealed new details about how the National Security Agency is quietly building the largest spy center in the country in Bluffdale, Utah, as part of a secret NSA surveillance program codenamed Stellar Wind. According to investigative reporter James Bamford, the NSA has established listening posts throughout the nation to collect and sift through billions of email messages and phone calls, whether they originate within the country or overseas. The Utah Spy Center will contain near bottomless databases to store all forms of communication collected by the agency. This includes the complete contents of private emails, cell phone calls, and Google searches, as well as all sorts of personal data trails, parking receipts, travel itineraries, bookstore purchases, and other digital pocket litter.
In addition, the NSA has also created a supercomputer of almost unimaginable speed to look for patterns and unscramble codes. James Bamford writes, this secret surveillance program is in some measure the realization of the total information awareness program created during the first term of the Bush administration, but later killed by Congress in 2003 due to privacy concerns and public outcry. James Bamford joins us now from London, England. His article in Wired is called "The NSA is Building the Country's Biggest Spy Center. Watch What You Say." Jim Bamford is an investigative journalist who's been covering the National Security Agency for the last 3 decades. He came close to standing trial after revealing the NSA's operations in an explosive 1982 book called The Puzzle Palace. His latest book is the last in his trilogy on the NSA. It's called The Shadow Factory, the ultra-secret NSA from 9/11 to the eavesdropping on America. James Bamford, welcome to Democracy Now! Your piece is so dramatic. I was wondering if you might read the first few paragraphs as we begin.
I'll give it a try. The spring air in the small, sand-dusted town has a soft haze to it, and clumps of green-gray sagebrush rustle in the breeze. Bluffdale sits in a bowl-shaped valley in the shadow of Utah's Watchet Range and to the east, the Oquat Mountains to the west. It's the heart of Mormon country, where religious pioneers first arrived more than 160 years ago. They came to escape the rest of the world, to understand the mysterious words sent down from their God as revealed on buried golden plates, and to practice what has become known as the principle, marriage to multiple wives. Today, Bluffdale is home to one of the nation's largest sects of polygamists, the Apostolic United Brethren, with upwards of 9,000 members. The Brethren's complex includes a chapel, a school, a sports field, and an archive. Membership has doubled since 1978, and the number of plural marriages has tripled. So the sect has recently been looking for ways to purchase more land and expand throughout the town. But new pioneers have quietly begun moving into the area, secretive outsiders who say little and keep to themselves. Like the pious polygamists, they are focused on deciphering cryptic messages that only they have the power to understand. Just off Beef Hollow Road, less than a mile from Brethren headquarters, thousands of hard-hatted construction workers in sweat-soaked T-shirts are laying the groundwork for the newcomer's own temple and archive, a massive complex so large that it necessitated expanding the town's boundaries. Once built, it will be more than 5 times the size of the U.S. Capitol. Rather than Bibles, prophets, and worshipers, this temple will be filled with servers, computer intelligence experts, and armed guards. And instead of listening for words flowing down from heaven, these newcomers will be secretly capturing, storing, and analyzing vast quantities of words and images hurling through the world's telecommunications networks. In the little town of Bluffdale, Big Love and Big Brother have become uneasy neighbors.
And those are the opening words of Jim Bamford's piece, "The NSA is Building the Country's Biggest Spy Center. Watch What You Say." So, James Bamford, it's good to have you on, albeit from Britain right now. But talk further about what you have found and what the capacity of this data center, as they call it, seemingly so innocuous, is.
Well, it's going to be 1 million square feet. That's gigantic. There's only one data center in the country that's larger, and it's only slightly larger than that. And it's going to cost $2 billion. It's being built in this area on a military base outside of Salt Lake City in Bluffdale. As I said, they had to actually extend the boundary of the town so it would fit into it. And the whole purpose of this is the centerpiece of this massive eavesdropping complex, this network that was created after 9/11. During the 90s, the NSA had a disastrous decade following the Cold War. They missed the first World Trade Center bombing. They missed the attack on the USS Cole. They missed the attack on the U.S. embassies in East Africa. And finally, they missed the 9/11 attacks. So NSA wanted to pretty much recreate itself as this massive eavesdropping organization that was, during the Cold War, focused on the Soviet Union primarily, and to some degree the Eastern Europe and China and Cuba, communist countries. And today it's focused on anybody that could use a piece of communication, because the terrorists that they're eventually after use the same kind of communications that everybody else does. So it has to focus on the worldwide network of communications, the same network that all of us use. So you have this massive agency that's collecting a tremendous amount of information every day by satellites, by tapping into undersea cables, by picking up microwave links and tapping into cell phones and data links and your computer email links and so forth. And then it has to store it someplace, and that's why they built Bluffdale. And then that acts as, in essence, like a cloud, a digital cloud, so that agency employees, analysts from around the country at NSA headquarters and their listening posts in different parts of the U.S. in Georgia, Texas, Hawaii, and Colorado can all access that information held in Bluffdale in that data center. And that's pretty much a summary of what that data center is all about.
James Bamford, can you explain also for, I think most people are more familiar with the work of the CIA or the FBI or other intelligence agencies. The NSA is the most secretive. So can you say a little about what the work they do, how that's different from what the other agencies do?
Sure. The NSA is much different from the CIA. First of all, it's about 3 times the size. It costs far more. It's tremendously more secret than the CIA. And what it does is very different. It's focused on eavesdropping, on tapping into major communications links, on listening to what people around the world and to some degree in the United States say on telephones, email, communications. That's really the high point of intelligence these days. Human intelligence is what the CIA does. It goes out and recruits spies, or it blows people up with drones. So the actual collection, and human intelligence hasn't really been very good historically. Most of the intelligence that the U.S. gathers comes from NSA. It's from tapping into communications. So that's a very big difference between the two, and NSA is really the most powerful intelligence agency, not only in the U.S., but in the world today.
One of the things that you also mention, one of the key functions that this new facility will undertake is has to do with the advanced encryption standard. Can you say a little about that and why it's important?
Well, yeah, the other purpose, in addition to storing material, is it plays a major role in the code-breaking aspects of NSA. NSA has several missions. One of them is intercepting communications. The other is breaking codes, because a lot of that information is encrypted. And the third function of NSA is making codes for the U.S., encrypting U.S. communications. So Bluffdale will play a major role in the breaking of codes, because for breaking codes you really need two key ingredients. One is a very large a place where you can store a very large amount of material, because the more material you have when you're going through it, using computers to go through it, what you're looking for is patterns. And the more material that you have, the more data, the more telephone calls, the more email, the more encrypted data that you have, the more patterns that you're likely to discover. And the second thing you need is a very, very powerful computer, a very fast computer that can go through enormous amounts of information very fast, looking for those patterns. And so the NSA is now also building a very secret facility down in Tennessee at Oak Ridge, where during World War II the U.S. In great secrecy developed the atomic bomb as part of the Manhattan Project. So now instead of an atomic bomb, you have a massive computer that the NSA is working on to be the fastest computer in the world, with speeds that are just beyond most people's comprehensions. And the reason for that is because they have to use these computers to do what they call brute force. In other words, take this data and just go through it as fast as possible, just to look for these key patterns.
We're talking to James Bamford, investigative reporter who's covered the National Security Agency for more than 3 decades. His piece in Wired magazine that we're going to continue with after break is called "The NSA is Building the Country's Biggest Spy Center. Watch What You Say." He's speaking to us from Britain. This is Democracy Now! We'll be back with Jim Bamford in a minute, and we will also be joined later by Thomas Drake. If there was a trial, Jim Bamford might have testified at the trial of Thomas Drake, an NSA whistleblower. Stay with us.